Hi, and thank you once again for joining me for the Darren Chatter solo cast, where I read my blogs to you so that you don't have to bother reading them yourself. This one is blog number 262, entitled Struggle is Universal. There are a few universal truths, but this is certainly one of them. Everyone struggles. That is a given. If you are very fortunate, you get to choose most of your struggles. You never have control over everything, but in some cases, you can actually choose things like starting a business that are a struggle. For most of us, we are seemingly handed a set of things to overcome in our lives. Some of these things may not be readily apparent. Others are glaringly obvious. For some, the deck is stacked against them to a higher degree. They come from a small town, or the inner city, abject poverty, or a family with drug or alcohol abuse. You name it. We all have our own struggles to overcome. The question is, at what point do you embrace the suck and start working to change the course of your life? I grew up on a small farm outside a small town in rural Pennsylvania. The only thing my hometown was known for was a horrible stench of the P.H. Gladfelder paper mill, where many of the people who lived in that town also worked. The funny thing is, no one noticed the smell because they were around it all the time. We were immersed in that horrible smell constantly, so it just became part of our reality. We were like fish unknowingly swimming in the water. It was part of our world, and we did not know any different. I had no idea how bad it was until I moved away and returned a year later to visit. My eyes burned, my throat itched, and I have a tingling sensation in my lungs the entire time I was there. It made me glad I moved away, but as it turns out, there was more than one reason to be happy about that. Living in a small town is like that. It is very easy to catch a serious condition. That condition is myopia. Myopia is when you have the lack of foresight, or by an eye doctor's definition, you are nearsighted. You lose the capacity to have a vision of the world at large around you. When you grow up in a certain environment, it's easy to fall into the trap of, this is my life, and that you are somehow destined to live your life just like those around you. For me, it seemed at an early age I was destined to join the family business and work away in a manufacturing job for the majority of my life. That's what my dad's father and his two brothers did, and many of the other men in the family did as well. It was the easy path, the path of least resistance, a given that you would toil and struggle, but have some small level of security in doing so. Luckily for me, my mom's parents had broken free of this, despite being from a very similar position themselves for many years. Through a little luck and a ton of hard work, they made it out, retired early, and purchased a home in Phoenix. They were snowbirds, living in Pennsylvania during the hot summer months of Arizona, and then avoiding the harsh winters of Pennsylvania the rest of the year. We would visit them in February, shoveling snow off of the driveway to be able to drive to the airport for the trip to Arizona. We went from knee-deep snow to suntans and cloudless skies for 2 weeks. It was culture shock being in such a big city and a desert climate. I loved to visit, but when the topic of moving there was brought up, let's say I was less than thrilled. But suffice to say, it changed the course of my life in a lot of ways. We did not have any money when we moved to Phoenix. Times were difficult to the point of my grandparents bringing groceries to the house on a weekly basis for some time. When my dad did get a job that paid decent money, things turned around and that elevated us to lower middle class status, I guess. When I started playing racquetball, I was able to interact with people of all ages and economic status, and I slowly started to realize that things could be different. I started taking mental notes, asking more questions. I may not have even realized it at the time, but I was planning my own escape. I want you to realize something very important. You are not stuck. In today's world, you have every opportunity to change your life and make a different future for yourself and your family. I'm not talking about buying lottery tickets. I'm talking about putting in the work and creating your own new and improved path into the future. You can borrow money to go to school online while working 1 or even 2 jobs. I did it. I worked in medical device sales 70 hours a week on average, and I still finished school through a University of Phoenix online program. You can too. If you read the above paragraph, you know that I did not come from a life of privilege. With the right motivation, you can move mountains. Changing the course of your life can feel exactly like that, but it can be done. If you don't have marketable skills now, you can acquire them. You can live lean and save money in most cases. You can work more than one job to make ends meet. You can move away from your current living situation and improve your chances of future success. Now, all that being said, I want to warn you that it won't be easy, and it will take longer than you would like it to, but it can be done. Let me repeat that. It can be done. I have done it. People far worse off than I have done it. You can too. But if you do not have the desire to wallow in social mediocrity, live in economically depressed conditions, inhabit a city riddled with violent crime, etc., you can change things. And I think you could do it in 2 years' time. Now, 24 months may seem like an eternity when you struggle on a day-to-day basis. But in the grand scheme of things, in an average life of 70 years, think how small a percentage of your life that is. And besides, how is it not worth it? I want you to understand you are not alone. We all have some struggle that we have to overcome. We seemingly have been saddled with a life lesson to learn as part of our time here on earth. Some lessons are existential. Others are front and center, or food on the table or a roof over your head kind of struggles. Whatever your brand of struggle is, you're not alone. Every human being on the planet is fighting a battle of some kind. And for most, it's not just one thing. The real question is, do you have what it takes to change your life? Or maybe a better way to ask that is, do you believe that you can learn, grow, and adjust along the way to have what it takes to change the course of your life? I believe you can. I believed I could, and slowly but surely I did it. I didn't have a handbook or a tour guide to do it. I just kept stepping forward until I got there. Yes, I did need to backtrack on occasion, take a side step once in a while, etc. But I kept going, and I keep going today. There is no end to that journey until they close the lid on the pine box that you're buried in. There is no finish line. I wish you luck in your escape.